Darlie Routier was convicted of killing her two children, Devin, 6 years/0, and Damon, 5 years/0, in 1997. She called police late at night claiming an intruder had come into her home, stabbed two of her children, and cut her throat. The cut on her throat came within 1/16 of an inch to her carotid artery. Upon examination, police pinned her as the murderer. At the house, the screen of one of the windows had been cut open, and that was the supposed entry point of the intruder. On the screen, they found her blonde hair. Darlie had blonde hair, and thought that Darlie had been the one to cut it herself, staging the crime. They later found out that the hair belonged to one of the Leos. They found a sock, I believe, a few blocks away which had contained a stain of both Devin and Damon's blood. They also found skin DNA from Darlie. On one of the doors of the home, I believe, the door to the garage, there was a bloody fingerprint of an unidentified person. I think this is very important. There is a fingerprint of Darlie's on the knife, but she claimed to have picked up the knife after the intruder dropped it on his way out to defend herself in case he came back. Her story of events goes somewhat like this. She woke up the man hovering over her. At that point the man turned and scurried out the door, leaving the knife behind. As I said, she grabbed the knife for protection off the ground. She then discovered both of her children and called 911. Initially she didn't even realize she was injured. One of the questions in this case is how she could have not woken up to being attacked the way she was. Her husband says that he believes she was asphyxiated when she was initially attacked, leaving her unconscious for a period. Here's what the prosecution had in their case against her. Silly string video. She had a birthday party for the oldest boy, Devin, who would have turned 7 only 3 days after the murder. In the video she is smiling and trying to have a good time. I find this to be preposterous. Everyone grieves differently, and nobody is a mind reader. This was an attempt to cloud the minds of jurors. If you listen to her explanation, it sounds totally plausible. And the prosecution absolutely turned this into something that it was not. She had already sent out birthday invitations and gotten everything for the party prior to the night of the murders and decided to go through with it. Why she did this is really nothing to speculate on, in my opinion. She had her own reasons. Motive. I find this to be the most ridiculous claim of theirs. They claim she was tired of her children intruding on her life and decided to kill them for their $5,000 life insurance policy. That's just stupid. Hospital workers claim she did not seem to be showing much emotion and was withdrawn. Once again, everyone grieves differently, and this does not prove anything. This kind of stuff should not even be allowed in court, because it's just an attempt to sway people from the facts. The sock. There was a sock found in an alley by the house which contained a stain of blood. It was confirmed that it was both Devin and Damon's blood. This doesn't prove anything. They claim she planted the sock, but have no evidence to prove this. Here are the main points as to why I think that this was an intruder and not her. There was a bloody fingerprint of an unidentified person on the doorway. Where could this have come from if not an intruder? She had very heavy bruising on her body, specifically her arms. She was accused of having cut her own throat in an attempt to stage the crime, but what about the bruises? How would she have staged that? It was a serious cut to her, one that I don't think she gave herself. I don't think she would be able to bruise herself like that. There is no definitive evidence that points to her. All in all, I think that at the very least there was beyond reasonable doubt, and therefore she should not have been convicted. That is my opinion, take it for what you will. I am making this post to see what other people's opinions on this case are. If you want to read more about the case, here is a link to a site with more background. Edit. I want to give a link directly to all of the evidence. If you read about the blood spatter analyst, you can see why I do not trust anything the guy says. He has proven himself to be biased and unreliable on many occasions. Here is a link regarding all of the fingerprint evidence left behind. It's been fun discussing this with you guys. Reading all your responses has given me more insight, and although I'm still on the fence, right now I am leaning further towards guilt than I was before. I have enjoyed reading different theories and opinions from all of you.
I used to have the same doubts, but the more interviews her and Darren did later convinced me she killed the kids, and Darren knew it. I just don't see anything that really supports another theory or her intruder story. The blood evidence is what points to her. Seriously, review the blood patterns in detail. That's what clinches it. I'm not someone who places any weight whatsoever on the silly string video. Whew. I think pertinent points are her history of abusing the older boys, her abuse of diet pills which have been found in other cases of family annihilation, the immense unlikelihood of an intruder wounding an adult woman so comparatively lightly versus the 2 children so viciously, compare Downs, for similar fake injury to annihilate her mother, the blood evidence, her defenders vociferously pressing for DNA testing over years, and then no further updates, no exonerating evidence was found. I always thought it was interesting that Darren planned a burglary scam before the murders happened. I truly go back and forth on whether or not she did it. I could see a scenario similar to the scam above, but instead the hired guy just went off the rails. Or perhaps the guy came at the wrong time date. However, there is some evidence that makes me think she could have done it. I'm very much on the fence. If, God forbid, I was ever in her position, I would absolutely be 100% withdrawn and distant, to the point of potentially being non-responsive. And after I had a few days of being forced to deal and function, I would absolutely try my damnedest to remember my loved one happily and honor their memory and spirit. The public is so unforgiving, and it boggles my mind that in 2019, we still don't get that. How you personally would handle something doesn't mean that's how it should be handled.
There's a Forensic Files episode about this. The blood evidence and the audio background they isolated during the 911 call made it a lot more convincing for me. It's in the first season, so it's been quite a while and I don't remember the specifics all too well. But the blood drops through the kitchen and down the counter where the sink was pretty damning. But I do agree, everyone grieves differently, so using that as evidence isn't exactly right or fair. So, what's your theory on what happened? Post it in the comments below. Thank you for listening. You can find the original post in r/unresolved mysteries through the link in the description box below. I like being able to listen to posts when I'm busy doing something else and can't read them. So I made this video for anyone who wants to listen to their Reddit posts. If you enjoyed this video, please like it and don't forget to hit the subscribe button below to get more puzzling mysteries.